and stared into my eyes for a few seconds. Finally, he patted my shoulder gently. Being a bridesmaid is tiring. Get some rest. Natalie said she couldn't get a taxi and is still at the venue. I'll go back and pick her up. It wouldn't be safe to leave her there alone. I nodded calmly, but Mason didn't move right away. He seemed to be waiting for me to respond the way I usually did, telling him to drive safely or complaining that he was leaving me home alone so late at night. But instead, I simply opened the car door and stepped out. Watching the car drive away into the distance, I wiped the tears that stung my eyes and dialed my parents in Montelvia. Mom, Dad, I agreed to fulfill the marriage arrangement and marry Devin Ryder. When my parents learned that I was pregnant, they were overjoyed. They said the child was a descendant of the royal family. They would never allow him to carry the stigma of being an illegitimate child. He would be given the best future possible. They also told me that Devin had already prepared several wedding plans for me to choose from. I booked a flight for 3 days later. After returning to the villa, I began clearing out the bedroom drawers, years of keepsakes I had carefully saved, the love letters Mason had written to me, and the photos we had taken together. By the time I finished packing my luggage, Mason came home. You're still up this late? His gaze swept over the messy closet and the suitcase beside it. His tone was relaxed. Why are you suddenly sorting through clothes and organizing the closet? Going on a trip? I didn't answer his question. Instead, I asked calmly, did you take Natalie home? Yeah, her apartment's pretty remote. It really is hard to get a taxi there. Oh, I lowered my head and turned to leave. The next second, Mason wrapped his arms around me from behind. The rose perfume clinging to him made me feel slightly nauseous. It was Natalie's scent. Instinctively, I pushed him away. His body stiffened. He looked at me for 2 seconds, then let out a laugh. You're still mad about the bouquet? Don't be so petty. He stood up, loosening his tie, his tone helpless, like he was coaxing a child. All right, I'll order you a bigger bouquet tomorrow. Let's wash up and get some sleep. I've got a meeting in the morning. With that, he headed toward the bathroom. I watched his back and said softly, I promised my parents I'd return to Montelvia to get married in a week. Mason's hand froze on the bathroom doorknob. When he turned back, his patience had clearly run out. His brows knit together in irritation. Madison, stop making trouble. I told you, I'm the CEO. I can't just impulsively throw together a wedding without any planning. Marriage is something between the two of us. We can't rush into it just because of some promise you made with your best friend. Then, I took a deep breath, holding on to the last thread of hope. If I were pregnant, would you give me and the baby a home? His expression faltered for a moment. Then he lifted a hand and pressed his fingers to his temple. A wedding and having a child are both major life events. I want everything to happen according to plan. Madison, the Ryder Group has many important projects right now. This is a critical stage in my career. Getting married at this moment would only distract me and disrupt all my plans. So don't use pregnancy as an excuse. I want to welcome the child when everything is properly prepared. His words fell like stones, each one crashing heavily into my heart. The pain was unbearable. In that moment, I decided to put away every last expectation I had. Seeing my reddened eyes, Mason sighed, his expression softening. Just wait one more year. Once my career stabilizes, Before he could finish yet another promise, the ringing of his phone interrupted him. On the call, Natalie told him there was an urgent issue with a project. Everyone needed to gather immediately for a meeting. After hanging up, Mason left. He took his luggage with him and never came back. Perhaps my sudden talk of marriage had made him feel suffocated. The company had simply given him the perfect excuse to move out and avoid my pressure. What he didn't know was that by the time he returned, I would probably already be back in Montelvia. In the days before my departure, I quietly took care of everything that needed to be done. I sold the house we had lived in together at a reduced price. On the day I handed the keys to the real estate agent, I discovered a stack of project documents for Mason's company in the study. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to deliver them to him. Just as I reached the door of his office, I heard laughter and conversation coming from inside. Not only were Natalie and Mason there, but so were a few of his close friends. I was about to knock when one of them